In the global market, culture is understood as a set of belief, value, and learned custom that influence consumer behavior in a country. In the context of consumption, culture is reflected through value, core belief, and social norm. Belief, specific idea about the world, and attitude, positive or negative reaction to products of consumer. Additionally, religious belief and aesthetic also shape how consumers evaluate products and experience. For example, in successful marketing in new markets, brands must deeply understand local value and custom, not just directly translate language. Holistic model analyze cultures across 6 dimensions: power distance, individualism and collectivism, masculinity, femininity, uncertainty avoidance, long-term orientations, and indulgence. For example, Hofstede showed that in Vietnam is a collectivist society with high power distance, while in US is an individualistic society with low power distance. Vietnam is a highly collectivist society. Buying decisions are often influenced by family and community. Vietnamese consumers prefer us and emphasize community value and family emotions. The US, on the other hand, is an individualistic society where consumers are more focused on personal benefits and convenience. As a result, as in the US often highlight personal solutions, independence, and privacy, while in Vietnam ads highlight connections and bonds. This model allows business to predict consumer trends. For example, in society with high power distance like Vietnam, consumers accept clear class distinctions, explaining why holding a Starbucks cup is seen as a symbol of wealth. Meanwhile, in the US with low power distance, brands typically target the mass market and do not emphasize the wealth.
High context versus low context culture. According to Edward T. Hart, high context cultures like Vietnam create habits of indirect communication, embracing nonverbal cues and avoiding direct confrontation. In contrast, low context cultures like those in the West prioritize direct and straightforward communication. For example, Vietnamese people really say no directly, while Americans tend to give open and fluent responses. Understanding this cultural role helps marketers choose the right approach, as in the US can be bold and humorous, while in Vietnam they need to be polished, subtle, and culturally
The concept of SRC, self-reference criterion, was introduced by James Lee, and it suggests that in international marketing, decision makers often unconsciously use their own cultural value to access foreign markets. For example, a European company might assume that European taste will also work for Vietnamese customers without knowing that Vietnamese people are used to drinking coffee with constant milk with a strong robusta flavor. SRC is a major obstacle that leads to failure when expanding because of assumption that what works at home will work the same way abroad. Coca-Cola once had to change its name in China because the original pronunciation means taste of canoe, and Johnson & Johnson failed in Japan because they didn't adjust the wax formula considering the custom of removing shoes inside home. Vietnamese people highly value family ties and trust from people they know. According to survey, Vietnamese customers trust recommendations from friends and family and evaluate brands based on long-term reputation. On the other hand, Americans mostly rely on advertising information, evaluating feature and brand reputation. Starbucks, the global American brand, applied in-depth market research when entering Vietnam. They launched the Dom Bistro drink, inspired by Vietnamese traditional iced coffee with strong, intense flavor. Starbucks imported premium Arabica coffee from the US and roasted it in a French style, stronger, to mimic the Robusta coffee flavor commonly consumed in Vietnam. This product reflects an adaptation strategy combining traditional Vietnamese coffee culture with a global brand. On the other hand, Starbucks positions itself as a premium brand in Vietnam, highest price, targeting youth and wealthy customers. According to Hostik, Vietnamese has a high BDI, so holding a Starbucks cup is seen as a statement of personal status. In contrast, local competitor Trung Nguyên chose a nationalistic approach. CEO Đặng Lê Nguyên Vũ encouraged Vietnamese people to only those who love the country drink Vietnamese coffee. Trung Nguyên message focused on national pride and cultural values, while Starbucks leveraged the openness and global mindsets of the younger generation. This example shows two different strategies. Starbucks succeeded by combining cultural branding, making the brand more approachable by contributing to coffee culture and understanding the local context, while Trung Nguyên has a clash between traditional value and a somewhat rigid communication
in Vietnam. While KFC is successful worldwide, they make a serious cultural mistake in Vietnam. In 2022, KFC Vietnam named one of its stores KFC Thích Quang Đức, named after a street and a Buddhist martyr. Vietnamese consumers, especially Buddhists, saw this as a disrespectful action toward religious belief. The incident sparked strong backlash, forcing KFC to change the name immediately. This is a clear example of the SRC mistake. The company unintentionally applied its own cultural criteria, naming after a street, without considering the historical and religious significance of the name. KFC failed to thoroughly research the Vietnamese cultural environment, damaging its reputation. To improve, the company needs to invest in ethnographic research, consult local cultural advisors, and prepare crisis management strategies.
Coca-Cola and other global brands. Coca-Cola is an American brand that standardized many aspects, such as uniform bottle design and logo globally. However, to cater to the Vietnamese market, Coca-Cola adjusted sweetness level, packaging 1.5 liter bottle just for Vietnamese refrigerator. Advertising strategy for test featuring family reunions, combining both standardization and adaptation. In construct, absolute standardization 100% localization can lead to failure. For instance, a global fashion brand ran a sale campaign in Vietnam, but mistakenly translated as liquidation, which caused consumers to misunderstand that the brand was in financial trouble. Although this word language mistake, it highlights the consequences of overstandardization without considering cultural differences. On the other hand, companies that only print the exact global strategy without adjustment often face negative reactions. This is a clear example of the principle in the self-reference criterion theories and international marketing models. Always adjust your approach to the local cultural
context. Of
context.
globalization, businesses face two strategy choices: standardization or adaptation in the marketing strategies. Standardization for uniformity in product, message, and branding across all markets. For example, Apple selling iPhone, iPad exactly the same worldwide, which save costs and create global brand recognition. However, these strategies carry risks when market culture are too different. For instance, Apple uniform logo works because consumer needs for technology are similar worldwide. However, consumer goods like food or advertising need to adapt to local culture. In practice, cross-cultural marketing requires mastering both theory and real-world application. Holistic guide positioning strategies, for example, focusing on family in the Vietnamese market, how help draft messages according to context, and the self-reference criterion warn against common cultural bias. Campaigns need to rely on thorough market research, field survey, customer interview, and test run before launching the main campaign.
On the other hand, the adaptation strategy requires tailoring the 4 Bs: product, price, place, promotion for each market. McDonald's is a classic example of adaptation. The brand offers special burgers by regions, McAlotiki in India, Poutine in Canada. Similarly, McDonald's in Vietnam incorporates Vietnamese food and flavors into the menu. Besides, the product, message, and distribution channel also need adjustments. For instance, using popular social media platforms in Vietnam, Zalo, Facebook, instead of Twitter or Pinterest like in the US. Successful companies in Vietnam usually use a mixed strategy, maintaining global identity while carefully adapting to the local cultures. In contrast, failure usually occurs when cultural adjustment are neglected. As mentioned, advertisement using inappropriate image, for example, giant chopstick in a burger ad, often provoke strong reactions. A communication campaign that misinterprets language can cause significant misunderstandings. This is the result of over-standardizations without cultural check.
In conclusion, culture is core factor affecting buying behavior. Combining two cultures, Vietnam and its partners, we see clear differences in values, beliefs, and advertising approaches. Global companies that success are those that learn and remain flexible, integrate cultural theories into campaigns, produce culturally focused research, carefully adjust products and messages to fit the local context. Cases that are confused usually fail due to a lack of cultural understanding, leading to negative reactions. Therefore, a comprehensive application of cultural theories, along with market observations, will help companies create outstanding marketing campaigns that fit each country's unique culture.
Hello everyone!
Ever wonder why your graphic changes when your closest market or why a sales sign make your heart race? Today, we're spilling the tea on shopping cultures and some wild culture shock from around the world. Meet our guest is bringing their country vibe. Dinh from Vietnam, He from Japan, Nguyen from the US, and Huy from the Sweden. Shopping show off a country style and a new play that can totally throw you off. Lee, what shopping like in Vietnam?
In Vietnam, markets are like a big party. Vendor shop, people hunger is super likely. Once at Tungden markets, a seller was like, perhaps some creep is a mix or some soup, and I pose even though my creep was pulled. But in Germany, total shop supermarkets are so quiet, not humbling. I feel like a fish out of water.
That's so Vietnam. Nguyen, what is it like in the USA?
I think in the US, it is super chill. At Walmart, everyone per cart picks up quietly and price don't budget. But at Bentham markets, I was shocked. Vendor yelling, crowd pushing motorbike. You mean first time buying a conical hat? I buy double, cause I didn't haggle. The seller loud kill foreigner.
Do you watch Japan like?
I think Japan's like a movie companies. Store sell from sushi to shops, almost everything. I go there 4 to 5 times a week. Foreigners are trust when staff wrap water bottles like a gift and all to your lunch. In Vietnam, I was surprised when a seller yelled by Christmas, so different from Japan's politeness.
Totally opposite. What about in Sweden?
So in Sweden, people feel capsicum is mean buying shame. So 80 of young forest shops shaking hand to save the planet, showing off new stuff. In Sweden, people will think you weird. In Vietnam, I was shocked by 50% off deal and everyone went nuts. And one more thing, that Sweden store don't use plastic bag. So if you forget the reusable one, you will carry the stuff in your hand.
So shopping like a trip around the world, from noisy market to quiet store. Every place has surprise and crazy culture shock. Before you hit buy, take a second and think, do you really need it? Now, a big thank to our guests for bringing the shopping world to us. Audience, what about you? Ever bought something by accident or went overboard because of the sale? Tell us your story. Catch you next time.
Bye.